I transmigrated into an unlucky female snake character in a porn novel. The type that would have its tendons and skin pulled out by the villain to make a snake feast to please the female lead. In order to survive, I saved the villain's life, hoping that he would be lenient in the future. Who would have thought that the next day he would take me home and raise me as a pet snake in a giant aquarium? No way, would anyone treat their savior like this? After transmigrating into the supporting role of a female snake in a porn novel, I still couldn't escape the fate of being captured as the villain's pet. In this world, beastmen are rare pets for the rich. The original owner was a beautiful snake with rare bloodline that was auctioned off at an exorbitant price, and was eventually bought by a mysterious president as a pet. That's right, that president was the villain of this world. Under the villain's careful care, the original owner was eventually tamed and fell in love with him. But the villain fell in love with the female lead at first sight. Beastmen are inherently possessive, and snake men are even more prone to jealousy. However, the original owner was only a little jealous. Who would have thought that in order to please the female lead, the villain would have the heart to pull out the original owner's tendons and skin, and cook her into a snake feast for the female lead to nourish her body? Although I'm not the original owner, this villain is truly a beast. How could he be so cruel to his pet? What's wrong with a pet? They just want to stick around their master. To survive, I should still pretend to be an obedient pet. When a female lead appears, I will immediately run away. I have to stay away from the love and hate between the female lead and the villain and live happily in this world. Ever since I was captured in the aquarium, I had always played the role of a gentle, demure, and obedient pet. Seeing the villain sitting on a sofa next to the aquarium observing me, I immediately played the role of a curious little snake, swimming in front of him, tilting my head and pretending to be cute. Focusing on being the master's cute and well-behaved snake. Finally, one day, when I could transform into human legs, the villain released me for the first time. I unsteadily crawled out from the edge of the aquarium. The villain was still sitting on the sofa, reaching out to me. The servant beside him was a little worried, afraid that in the next second, the snake would go crazy and bite someone else. The villain waved his hand indifferently, continuing to reach out to me. Come here. I blinked my golden eyes, gently placing my claws on the villain's hand. Unexpectedly, he suddenly pulled hard, and my entire body fell onto his lap. The villain took his cloak and put it on me, covering the tattered clothes underneath. No wonder the original owner was so infatuated with him that she died. This beauty was truly top-notch. Some people were seduced by beauty. Can you talk, little snake? I regained my composure and opened my mouth, pretending I couldn't speak. Then I can't talk. The villain frowned, slowly reaching out his hand towards my neck. No way, big brother, the pet can't talk, and you still want to strangle it to death? In times of need, wisdom comes to the fore. I quickly pressed my face against his hand, and rubbed it intimately a few times. When the villain saw my movements, he was stunned, as if someone had pressed the pause button. He had never been this close to anyone before, and a strange feeling suddenly welled up in his heart. This guy's CPU was burned by this sister. Pets can't talk, but pets like me know how to act spoiled. I imitated the cat I raised at home in my previous life, and continued to snuggle into the villain's palm, and suddenly saw the corner of his mouth curl up slightly. This was an expression that only people who had raised pets would know. But when he smiled, he was so beautiful, his eyebrows curved, his deep blue eyes seemed to contain a sea of stars. No wonder the original owner was so jealous of him that he wanted to kill the female lead and take him for himself. If it were me, I would also. Wait, stop for about 2 seconds. For the sake of this little life, I have to restrain myself from the enemy's beauty. The servant beside the villain saw his master smiling like that and knew that he was very satisfied with this beast man. The beastmen he raised before were all very fierce and difficult to tame. Before they could even be tamed, they had worn down their master's patience, and in the end, they all died. Forget it, it doesn't matter if you can't speak, from today onwards I will teach you. The villain pinched my small face and said, first learn to call me by my name, Yen Mo. A few months after being released, Yen Mo still couldn't make me open my mouth to speak. Just kidding, because the original owner had a mouth that would always complain about heaven and life, and later the villain got angry and pulled out his tongue. Of course, I couldn't let this guy know that I could speak. But he wasn't so perverted as to pull out a mute person's tongue, right? It was normal for snakes not to be able to talk. After a few days of living together, I discovered that as a reward for being entangled with the villain, he would expand his scope of activities. At first, I could only wander around my room, but now I could freely enter and exit the entire mansion, except for Yen Mo's private room. In order to observe me at all times, this guy had people install cameras in every corner of the mansion. He even arranged for 2 maids to serve and monitor me. After several days of wandering around and looking around, I discovered that the entire presidential mansion was like a heavily guarded iron cage. The front door couldn't be passed through, there were no side doors or secret doors in the mansion, and there wasn't even a dog hole in the flower garden. I didn't know if I could go up to the sky or down to the ground. How would I escape then? Wait, down to the ground? I suddenly remembered that there was an extremely sophisticated artificial lake in the flower garden. Was there a path leading outside at the bottom of the lake? During the middle of summer, I started to show that I really liked soaking in the water. Yen Mo also secretly allowed me to take over his swimming pool. It was just that every time I went into the water, he would personally watch or send a maid to follow me. One day, Yen Mo grabbed my paw and dragged me for a walk by the artificial lake. As I walked, I hatched a plan. I suddenly stopped and stared at the lake, then looked at Yen Mo with puppy eyes. You can't swim here. Yen Mo smiled but didn't smile as he rubbed my head. There was nothing that acting cute couldn't solve. I immediately hung onto his neck like a koala, and rubbed my head vigorously. Let me go. Let me go. Stop messing around, Nyen, I'm itching. Yen Mo straightened the long black hair that I had messed up, his fingertips gently stroking the ends of my hair. Each strand of hair felt softer and smoother than cat fur, not to mention the coolness of high-quality silk. That's right, Yen Mo named me Nyen, implying his endless longing, just waiting for a response. Why does it sound so ambiguous? But seeing him so infatuated with the female lead but not getting a response, I should still obediently be a pet before finding a way to escape. Seeing the little girl in his arms staring blankly at the lake, then burying herself in his chest motionless, Yen Mo helplessly said, Hey, next time I take Nyen out for a walk, let her go play in the lake. The water in the lake hasn't been changed in a long time, it's very dirty. Humph, you clean freak, why didn't you say anything when I crawled out of the aquarium in tattered clothes? There must be something wrong with this lake. Gonmac only had time to see the tip of the ear of the person in his arms twitch slightly, then his chest felt empty. That little girl ran away. Was she sulking? How adorable. Hey, Nyen, wait for me. Yen Mo followed closely behind, conveniently signaling the butler behind him with his eyes. The butler understood and immediately led the people to the artificial lake. Ever since Yen Mo refused my request to visit the artificial lake, I started to feel depressed and unhappy. My favorite little cake before? I didn't eat it. My favorite TV series before? I didn't watch it. Every day I heard that Yen Mo was coming back, I didn't rush into his arms and cling to him. I also didn't care about going back to my room, I just stayed in the pool blowing bubbles all day. The servants didn't dare to go into the water to bring me up, they could only stand on the shore and coax me, earnestly inviting me to come up. Before, there was also a bold maid who wanted to go down and rescue me, but I ended up using my snake tail to pull her back to the shore. Her vertical golden pupils glared at them, warning them not to come near. I just wanted to express my dissatisfaction at being rejected by Yan Mo. That day after returning home, Gon Mak did not go straight to the pool to rescue me like usual. Something was unusual, something must have happened. Although I didn't want to actively look for Gon Mak, I still quietly stuck half my head out of the water, pricking up my ears. It seemed like a guest had arrived. "Thank you, Mr. President, for the invitation." Invitation? What did he invite? "Miss Chow is too polite, why don't we go over?" The sound kept breaking up, making me, who was eavesdropping, extremely uncomfortable. Wait, Miss Chow? The female lead Chowani? Have they met? Before I could retract my tail, I shot out of the water like an arrow, not even caring about the dirty and wet clothes on my body, running straight towards the direction of the sound. Miss Mian Mian, wait a moment. Before the maid behind me could react, I had already rushed out of the swimming pool area. The other two servants could only hold towels and clean clothes to chase after me. I quickly dashed across the mansion's lobby. In no time, I was seated next to a pillar that allowed me to observe the entire lobby. I furtively stuck my nosy dog head out to look at the young woman beside Yan Mo. Oh my god, her hair was a golden color as bright as the sun, her eyes blue like a Persian cat. Her figure is convex and concave but not frivolous, her demeanor is elegant, her temperament is like a flower and jade. She is indeed the female lead Chowani in the book. She is so beautiful. Don't even mention men, even women like me want to jump into her arms. So, my fate is over here. Next, Yan Mo will fall in love with the female lead, then drag me, the little snake, out to chop up the meat and make a 7-course snake feast according to the script. These past few days, I was so busy acting as a pet that I forgot when the female lead appeared. Now, I still didn't know if there was a secret passage at the bottom of the lake. Before I could even freeze, the servants' voices rang out behind me. "Miss Nian Nian, wait for us." My scalp went numb, afraid that Yan Mo would hear the servants' voices and discover that I was spying, so I ran away on all fours. Yan Mo only had time to see a black shadow flash past behind a pillar, leaving a puddle of water on the ground. Immediately after, I saw a maid holding a towel with a sweaty head chasing after something. "What's going on over there?" Yan Mo asked the maid holding clothes who had just run over. "Young master," Miss Nian Nian suddenly rushed out of the water, and before she could even dry herself and put on her clothes, she ran away. "I just saw her here, why did she suddenly run away?" The maid's face showed an awkward expression, and she slowly explained everything. Yan Mo raised his eyebrows when he heard this, his expression as if he was joking, and the naked eye could see that his mood was improving. "All right, step back." The maid bowed and continued to chase in the original direction. "Earlier this morning, I heard that the president here is raising a beautiful and rare snake lady, and he loves her very much. She must be the Nian Nian from earlier, right?" Chow Wani covered her mouth and giggled, trying to probe. "Miss Chow, you've crossed the line." Yan Mo seemed to be smiling but not smiling, his words were a bit cold. "I've made Miss Chow laugh, why don't we go to the restaurant first to discuss cooperation while eating?" "Please." Chow Wani opened the fan and nodded slightly, but the smile did not reach her eyes. "Let's see what kind of beast is worthy of being cherished and loved by the president." I hurriedly ran back to my room and closed the door. I was afraid that the servant would really expose me, letting Yan Mo and the female lead Chow Wani see my cowardly behavior just now. It was fine for Yan Mo, I always peeked at him anyway. But if Chow Wani misunderstood me as a pervert, that would be terrible. I still wanted to act cute by the side of the sweet and gentle female lead. Who knows, maybe after acting cute with the female lead a few times and getting close to her, Yan Mo would forgive me in the future. This sister is truly a genius. But what if Yan Mo thought I was plotting to steal his wife? There was already a male protagonist who was a love rival and was causing trouble for him. Now I'm stirring up trouble even more. Then the first one to die will definitely be me, who told this small body to be just a common cannon fodder. Run, I must run. Even if the heavenly king descends to earth, I can't stay. I must cherish my life, stay away from the main characters. While I was still deep in thought, my eyes stared straight ahead, my delicate eyebrows slightly squinted, biting my fingers as I sat motionless on the sofa. But in the eyes of outsiders, I was like a little snake, wet as a drowned rat, abandoned by its owner who had a new lover. On my face was an expression like a kitten that had just seen its owner flirting with women outside, and was about to take that stray cat home. The servants sighed when they saw me so lonely. Late at night. The moonlight shone through the floor-to-ceiling glass window, gently falling on the face of a sleeping girl. The girl on the bed had smooth white skin and red lips, her long eyelashes trembled slightly, indicating that her owner was having a sweet dream. Every time she finished drinking the milk mixed with medicine, Neem Neem slept very deeply. To the point that she didn't even notice that Yan Mo came to her room every night. Yan Mo sat by the bed, using his fingertips to gently caress the little girl's face, looking at her sleeping figure with a fascinated expression. Today, the servant told him that after seeing him bring Xiaowani home, Nian Nian sat alone in her room, feeling depressed for a long time. My Nian Nian is actually jealous. Does that mean she also likes me? His eyes filled with passion and crazy love stopped on that young girl's lips as usual. Yan Mo gently separated her lips, pressing their lips together. Not enough, still not enough. Just let Nian Nian discover her dirty thoughts, then there's no need to be patient anymore. But what if she becomes afraid of me because of this? Did Yan Mo come to my room last night? Early in the morning, I sat on the bed, sniffing here and there. Normal people might not be able to detect it, but for us beasts with sensitive senses of smell, all the surrounding smells would be amplified infinitely. Oh, it smells like alcohol. This smell rushed straight into my nose and palate, extremely suspicious. Could it be that I was sleepwalking and went drinking with Yan Mo last night? If not, why would there be a sudden smell of alcohol in my mouth? This strange smell kept filling my nose and mouth, so I couldn't help but, ugh. The maid had just entered the room when she saw me struggling to hold on to the edge of the bed and retching. Miss Neem Neem, this is... Already? Was the young master that strong last night? In such an easily misunderstood situation, the maid's CPU was like being fried. She was stunned for a few seconds before she could react, turned around and got the sink and towel. The maid gently patted my back, used hot water to help me wipe my face, and worriedly held my hand. Miss Neem Neem, please don't be afraid, we will have the young master call a doctor to check if you are pregnant. No, I'm not. I'm not pregnant. What are you thinking? You guys are on duty 24/7, where would I get the chance to hook up with a man? Or did she misunderstand how to make a baby? So I grabbed the maid's hand, opened my eyes wide and shook my head frantically. Who would have thought that the misunderstanding would get even worse? My appearance in the maid's eyes seemed to be saying, don't tell the young master that I'm pregnant, I'm afraid he'll force me to abort the child. Don't worry, Miss Nian Nian. There are also several nobles around the young master who have children with beast men. The young master is so clear-headed, he definitely won't mind. Moreover, the children of beast men are very precious. The young master likes Miss Nian Nian so much, I can guarantee that he will also love this child. The maid looked at me with the eyes of an old mother looking at a promising child, and patted my hand to comfort me. No, your young master likes the female lead Xiaowani. What is she saying? My sister won't think that I'm really pregnant with your young master's child, right? The two of us haven't even interacted with each other yet. If I shake my head any longer, will my sister even think about the child's name? I had been at peace for so long that I forgot that I had crossed into a porn novel. Here, it was completely normal for humans to have children with their adopted beasts. Thinking about this, I shivered again. Luckily, Yenemo had gone out before dawn today. I heard that there was a problem with the national border, so the president and the general of the empire both had to go there. That general was also the male lead Luke Van Veen in the original work. If I remember correctly, this was also the time when Kyo Van Wy disguised herself as a man to act as a military advisor and marched with the general. The two of them were childhood sweethearts with deep feelings, serving as ruler and subject during the day and lovers at night. Before Yenemo could make a move, the female lead was already pregnant with the male lead's child. When Yenemo heard the news, he turned dark, unjustly framed the general, then captured the female lead and imprisoned her in a dark room to perform a forced love act. As a result, Luke Van Veen successfully faked his death and escaped, leading the rebel army to overthrow the tyrant Yenemo, rescuing the female lead. After taking power, the male lead freed the beast men from slavery, so that they would no longer have to endure being hunted or sold like goods. Wow, just looking at the story of fighting for equality for beast men, this male lead is truly a commendable person. But the original work did not describe at all the autocratic policies of Gon Mak. I have no idea what kind of dictatorial regulations he issued, who told me to only hang around this presidential palace every day. It seems like Gon Mak will not be back for another 10 or 15 days, this must be a good opportunity to escape. I pretended to wander around absent-mindedly and slowly walked towards the artificial lake. I was sure that there would be a pipe leading out at the bottom of the lake. Suddenly, the sound of a car rang out from afar, and then a luxury car stopped behind me. Nien Nien? A familiar voice suddenly rang out behind me, and I felt every vein in my body freeze. Why now? I turned my head mechanically, and saw Yenemo and Xiaowani sitting in the back of that luxury car. What are you two doing here? Shouldn't you be at the front lines fighting right now? You wouldn't even let the two of you act out a ghost story like that. He and Xiaowani acted like that. How could the male and female leads kill during the day and make love at night to advance the plot? Does a supporting male like you want to rise to the top so much? No, that's not the point. The point is that I really want to run away, but I can't run away. Yenemo got out of the car and asked the driver to escort Xiaowani into the living room first. My face became more and more fierce and angry when I saw that things were not going according to the plot. This fairy was really annoyed. Are you still angry, Nien Nien? Yenemo hugged me in his arms, gently placed his chin on top of my head, and used his big hands to caress the locks of hair on my shoulders. Absolutely not clinging, absolutely not clinging. People who don't play by the script are not qualified to cling to me. Do you think you're the male lead of a romance novel that you dare to put your chin on my head? Even though you look more like a demon than the demon that I am, can you not play the game of rubbing your chin on someone else's head, brother? I admit that I'm very afraid of dying, but I'm even more afraid of my head turning bald like an airport. I directly put my two hands on Yenmo's chest and struggled, trying to force my head away. Gon Mak's eyes quickly darkened, his two hands tightly gripping my slim waist. Neem Neem is planning to go down to the lake to play while I'm not home? Great, a fatal sentence that left me stunned. I stopped struggling, my hands gradually loosened, feeling so guilty that I didn't dare look him straight in the eye. The feeling of my hands hanging down was also made awkward by his words. If Nien Nien kisses me, I'll let you go play in the lake, okay? I immediately raised my head, looking at Yenemo in disbelief, even doubting that I had just heard wrong. What did he just say? Like the people in the TV dramas that Nien Nien often watches. Help, he thought I didn't know what kissing was, so he explained it so earnestly. Yenemo now looked like a scumbag who had just sat in a car caressing the goddess in his arms all the way to the door of his house, and when he passed by his normal toy, he immediately ignored the goddess and turned to flirt. Do all of you men in porn stories like to show off like this? No wonder the original owner's intelligence was toyed with by your family to the point of throwing it all to the dogs. What's wrong, Nyen Nyen, don't you dare? Yen Mo chuckled, his eyes filled with indulgence. I tiptoed and licked Yen Mo's lips lightly like in the island nation show I saw on the small screen yesterday. Seeing him frozen in place, I kissed and bit his lips again. The people working nearby quickly turned away, afraid of seeing something they shouldn't. Yen Mo's neck and ears quickly turned red in an instant, the top of his head seemed like it was about to emit white smoke. Wow, so naive. While his brain was still numb from the actions just now, I quickly rushed towards the lake. The servants heard the noise and turned around to stop me, but at that moment, Gon Mak covered his red face and waved his hand to tell them to back off. Don't stop me. Whoever comes, I'll deal with them. Thanks to the trick of selling sex, I was finally able to go down to the artificial lake as I wished. I quickly dived to the bottom of the lake, searching along the cliffs below. This place was too big, searching would definitely take a lot of time, and staying underwater for too long would definitely make Gon Mak suspicious. So I circled around the bottom of the lake a few more times, finally catching a fish and pretending to show off to Gon Mak. Luckily, he still thought I just wanted to go down there to catch fish for fun, and even asked the butler to bring me a chest to put the fish in. After swimming back and forth a few times, I finally discovered a large hole that was sealed with an iron net. I quickly swam over to observe it. Then I tried to use my sharp claws to pull out the nail. The truth was, this net could be handled. The cliff below turned out to be just a thin layer of cement, just need to steal some handy tool to be able to chisel it out. These past few days, Xiao Wani had been staying at the presidential palace, while Yen Mo had no intention of crossing the imperial border, and had just stayed at home and stuck to me even more than before. He even let me sit on his lap while he was discussing a secret agreement regarding guns and ammunition with Xiao Wani, completely unsuspecting, and not paying any attention to the female lead's awkwardness and embarrassment. Are you guys playing cuckolds in front of each other? The plot is getting more and more off track. And from that day on, every time I wanted to go down to the lake to play, I just had to kiss Yen Mo once. He gradually felt at ease, and stopped forcing the servants to stay by my side. I secretly stole a set of cutlery and hid it at the bottom of the lake, and every day I tried my best to remove the nails stuck on the iron grating bit by bit. Wow, the plan seemed to be going extremely well. If that Yen Mo didn't ask to kiss me every day, it would be even more perfect. After a week of hard work, I had successfully opened a hole just big enough for one person to pass through. It seemed like I had to spend the next 2 days researching a plan to run away with my stuff. I was in an extremely good mood. As soon as I finished eating the small piece of cake that the servant had prepared, I immediately skipped off to find Gon Mak. As I ran across the second-floor terrace, I caught Kyo Van Wy peeping at Gon Mak. Did she like Gon Mak? Should I congratulate him for being together with his first love? Yen Mo downstairs seemed to sense our gazes. He raised his head to look at the terrace, smiled and waved, then walked towards us. Why did it feel like he was waving at me? Xiao Wani was caught peeking at someone and blushed, turning around to see me standing behind her. She was stunned for a moment, then quickly turned pale. Not bad, even in Peking opera, people don't turn their backs that fast. Xiao Wani's eyes turned cold. She opened her mouth and said, Miss Nian Nian, last night the president discussed some things with me in the bedroom, and even asked me to tell you. Last night? In the bedroom? What was so interesting that he wanted me to listen to it? I curiously approached Xiao Wani, tilting my head, waiting for her to drop some hot news that was forbidden for children. Xiao Wani came closer to my ear, her voice just loud enough for the two of us to hear. The president is getting engaged to me, you can't stay here anymore. But he couldn't bear to handle it himself, so he assigned the job to me. After saying that, she immediately grabbed my neck and pushed me hard to the edge of the terrace. Wait, how could she kill someone over a disagreement? Before I could react, I was pushed to the edge of the terrace by her, my body already sticking out halfway. But how could a normal person be a match for a beast man? I immediately transformed into a snake tail to stabilize my body, then used my tail to wrap around Xiaowani, trying to force her to let go. Because I was scared and turned into a snake tail, my body reacted so strongly that scales grew on the corners of my eyes and some parts of my body, and my sharp claws and fangs also popped out involuntarily. Waiting for Xiaowani to loosen her grip, I quickly used my claws to grab her wrist, gently pulling her slender hand away from my neck. The female lead looked so skinny, but she was really strong. My neck was already aching from her squeezing. So when I just stepped onto the rooftop, what Yan saw was a scene _________. I had completely transformed into a beast form, using my tail to tightly wrap around Xiaowani's body and neck, my sharp claws restraining her slender wrists, looking as if I was about to tear apart the prey in front of me. Yan wouldn't have thought that a pet like me would want to kill his beloved woman, right? Would he point his gun and shoot me into a sieve in the next second? The vertical golden pupils shrank. Before Yan could react, I threw Xiaowani into his arms, then turned around and used my tail to jump from the rooftop and slide down to the ground. Nyen. Yan pushed Xiaowani away from his chest and rushed to the edge of the rooftop to grab the tip of my tail. Unfortunately, the tail in his hand quickly slid straight down. After hitting the ground, I rushed towards the artificial lake like an arrow that had just been released. I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to stay here today. The lake surface was like a mirror that had just been broken by an intruder, the snake's tail leaving behind a few ripples that spread out around. I rushed straight to the bottom of the lake, picked up the tools that were still hidden there, and pried open the last nails. If I just tried a little harder, I would be able to punch a small hole and crawl through. Nyen, where are you, Nyen? Yan Mo's call sounded at the wrong time. I was startled. Damn it, why didn't he stay to comfort Xiaowani and instead rushed here? Nyen, if you don't pay attention to me, I'll dive into the water to find you. Yan Mo's voice came down from the lakeshore like a death wish. Could it be that because of Xiaowani, he was going to personally deal with me, the criminal who had just attempted murder, right? My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it was about to jump out of my throat. I brushed aside the tools and used my sharp claws to dig the ground with my bare hands. Fortunately, my claws were sharp enough, and after a while, I successfully dug a small hole in the wall that had all the nails pulled out. By the time Yan jumped into the water himself, the tip of the snake's tail had already disappeared deep into the dark cave. I didn't know how long I had been swimming in this pitch-black cave. Thanks to the power of the snake's eyes, I could clearly see the path ahead in the darkness, otherwise I would have been so scared that I would collapse. I didn't dare stop to rest, afraid that if I swam any slower, I would be swallowed by the darkness behind me. I was also afraid that Yan would discover me and have someone block me at the exit. After all, I didn't know where this path would lead. The adrenaline level gradually decreased, the wounds on my fingertips and the snake's tail began to ache. Staying in the water would make it difficult for the wounds to scab over, and wherever I swam, blood stains would continuously appear, quickly blending into the water, then being swallowed by the darkness. I didn't know how much time had passed, but a faint light appeared before my eyes. Almost there, almost to the exit, I just needed to persevere a little longer. My body was already exhausted, I used up all my remaining strength, desperately rushing towards that tiny ray of light. Outside was the source of a large river. As soon as I rushed out of the river mouth, I was swept away by the raging current in an unknown direction. I couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Life was like water in a toilet bowl, with just a little push, I could jump from one lake to another, while my own strength was beyond my control. If I could survive. I hoped that the current would take me to a place where Yan couldn't find me. Exhausted and lacking oxygen, I could no longer swim. My eyes suddenly darkened, and I passed out. At dusk, the fragile sunset gently touched the lake's surface like countless golden threads, gently swaying with each ripple. Yan Mo emerged from the water. He lowered his head, making it impossible for others to guess his expression, letting strands of his bangs cover his bloodshot eyes. Drops of lake water rolled down his hair onto his face, making it impossible to distinguish between lake water and the president's tears. Yan Mo stared blankly at the blue snake scale with blood stains on it in his hand, his mind blank. The search team had been searching for traces in the lake for a whole day, and finally discovered that the iron net at the bottom of the lake had been pried open by someone, with blood stains and a few snake scales on it. She ran away. His beloved little snake escaped from his palm. It turned out that all the gentleness, obedience, and dependence these past few days were all just lies. In the end, it was all to gain his trust, to make him let down his guard against his beast man. Yan Mo remembered Nian Nian's frightened and guarded expression when he saw him strangling Qiao Wanyi this morning. The vigilance in Nian Nian's eyes seemed to turn into a knife that cut deep into his heart. Did Nian Nian not trust him? But he realized something was wrong. Nian Nian had never been so aggressive since he brought her back. What happened in the few minutes he walked from the courtyard to the rooftop? Yan Mo quickly rushed to the shore. Qiao Wanyi, who had been waiting for him all day, immediately came forward to greet him, but unexpectedly he grabbed her by the neck. "What did you do to my Nian Nian this morning?" Yan Mo slowly tightened his grip, his eyes like poisonous knives stabbing straight at Qiao Wanyi. "If you're smart, tell the truth, otherwise you know what will happen to you." Qiao Wanyi was having trouble breathing, and she couldn't even form a complete sentence. Yan Mo had no choice but to let go and throw her to the ground. Ahem. I was just talking about our engagement. Maybe she couldn't accept it, so she ran away. Yan Mo, my father is the largest arms supplier in the empire. It's not worth it for you to cause such a shameful scene for a beast. This woman was lying. Tomorrow, I will send someone to announce the termination of cooperation and the annulment of the engagement between the empire and the Qiao family. Yan Mo. Do you really want to turn against the Qiao family just because of a beast? The empire doesn't only have your Qiao family that sells weapons. If you want, I can still find another Qiao family to cooperate with. Qiao Wanyi, I don't care what your Qiao family thinks or does outside, but you absolutely must not touch my bottom line. Without turning back, Yan Mo led the butler and servants back to the villa, then suddenly stopped and added, "Also, she's not a beast, she's my lover." Butler, see the guest off. Are you crazy, gone Mac? People pursuing me can line up from here to Country F. I took out 30 billion to play with you and you dare to treat me like a dead person, and even go find that snake, %yen at *#carrot. Faced with Yan Mo's resolute appearance, Qiao Wanyi could only helplessly make a ruckus in the quiet darkness, and then was dragged out of the presidential palace by the security team. After returning to the villa, Yan Mo hadn't even had time to dry himself before going straight to the study to find the footage filmed on the rooftop this morning. Qiao Wanyi definitely didn't expect that there was a hidden mini camera on the rooftop, which had recorded every single action she took today in detail, except for a few words she said to Nian Nian. "Young master, next." The butler standing next to Yan Mo asked him what he was planning next. First issue a wanted notice, then deal with the Qiao family. Remember, you must bring her back alive, not even a single strand of her hair can be missing. 3 years later. Beastman Village. Nian Nian lay under an unknown flower on the ground, reaching out to put a small piece of fruit in her mouth. That day, after she lost consciousness, Nian Nian was swept away by the current into the primeval forest. She was accidentally saved by a goatman doctor while looking for medicinal herbs, and was then brought back to the Beastman village. Currently, other than helping the doctor classify medicinal herbs and cook medicine, Nian Nian finds countless places with beautiful scenery to rest every day. Although her current life is a bit boring, it is still extremely comfortable. Thanks to Qiao Wanyi's plot 3 years ago, I was able to find this paradise. Actually, after I woke up that year, I quickly realized. Qiao Wanyi definitely knew that the strength of beastmen was much greater than that of normal people, not to mention that I was a snake man beastman with a very dangerous nature. If I didn't use weapons, there was no way I could be defeated. Her sole purpose was to provoke me into attacking so that Yan Mo could witness the scene as if I was about to kill Qiao Wanyi. She was truly a vicious white lotus. She dared to use the borrowed knife to kill. How could she be so completely opposite to the gentle and kind female lead in the original work? It would be best if I didn't see you again, otherwise I would. I would immediately run away, run as far away as possible. If you can't provoke me, can't you run away? As for Yan Mo, who also acted completely differently from the original, how would he react when he saw that scene? I really didn't dare to bet my life on it. After all, running away was still the best choice. After all, according to the original plot, the female Beastman character had already been completely destroyed. Although the transmigrator me had messed up a few parts of the script, being able to survive until now was already much better than the original. The Beastman village was deep in the primeval forest. As long as I didn't stupidly run out, I definitely wouldn't have the chance to encounter Yan Mo in this life. Not to mention, I could still use my own name here, no longer the cannon fodder female Nian Nian in the original. My previous life's name was Gui Fen. Alas, it made people sigh. Except for slightly restricting my freedom, Yan Mo was still quite good. Seeing his face every day was enough to make me happy. Such a good pair of golden thighs. Thinking back on it, I miss him a little. I even like him a little. If I wasn't afraid of Yan Mo, I would be happy to be his pet for the rest of my life. While I was feeling sentimental, a piercing scream suddenly rang out from the village gate.
Oh no.
Village chief. Something bad is happening.
Ah.
Sooner or later the village chief would be scared to death by this unruly rooster. Following the roosters crowing to the village chief's house, I saw the old goat there. It turned out that the group of beast men who had just entered the human city to exchange medicinal herbs for medicine for the sick and elderly in the village had been captured by the beast men traffickers in the underground city. Currently, there were only 2 people in the village, me and the fox village chief, who could hide their beast men characteristics and sneak into the human city. I was indebted to the beast men village, so of course I couldn't just watch them die. Little geezy, this is medicine to treat injuries, this is life-saving medicine, this is poison, and this. Uncle Goat stuffed all the things into my bag, constantly reminding me, if you encounter danger, just run back here quickly, don't be stubborn. Don't worry, old young, I will definitely accompany the village chief to bring everyone back. I have experience dealing with humans, although it's not very pleasant. But before we leave, I still have to disguise myself a bit. I pointed to my head. I want to dye this green. Old young, village chief? I cut my hair short and permed it, then used Old Yang's medicinal leaves to dye my entire head dark green, and finally used charcoal ash to apply smoky makeup, pretending to be a delinquent schoolgirl that even my biological mother wouldn't recognize. Village Chief Bai Heng also dressed up himself to coordinate with me. He dressed up as a girl with a pair of breasts that were even more majestic than mine, even better than a brothel madam. Those high heels, his soft body even more snake-like than mine, oh this ultimate femininity. I felt like I saw the word evil appear before my eyes. Walking on the street, I couldn't help but exclaim, "You are truly an evil person." Underground city. Although there was no sunlight here, it was still filled with dim lights and flashing neon regardless of day or night. Under this underground city that was as bright as day, countless shady transactions were taking place. When we arrived at the door of the auction site, just as we were about to enter, we were stopped by the security guard at the door, who asked us to present an invitation or verify that we had 3 million in capital. I can bear with an invitation, but what the hell is capital verification? Do you think you're selling a luxury villa? How could two country bumpkins from the countryside like us come up with so much money? Just as I was about to pull Bok Heng away, I saw him take out a black card inlaid with diamonds from his fake chest that blinded the eyes of a snake. Thank you very much, it turns out I'm the only clown here. Bai Heng, where did you get so much money? With the conditions of the Beastman village, even if you spent your own money for many years, you wouldn't have that much. Damn it. Bai Heng knocked my head painfully. Do you think with the current production level of the Beastman village, how can it feed so many mouths? This village is originally protected by the Bai family, the nine-tailed fox clan since ancient times. All the food and clothing expenses in the village are provided by the Bai family. Bai Heng tossed his long hair, opened the fan, and narrowed his eyes seductively, and I am the eldest son of the Bai family, the next successor of the family, also known as Big Brother Bai. Please accept my bow. I quickly slid down and hugged Bai Heng's thigh. This thigh was too rich. No, I should say this thigh was really white. We entered the auction site smoothly, and were led to a private room decorated in a classical style. After waiting for more than an hour, it was finally time for the Beastmen auction. The black cloth was pulled down, revealing a few injured villagers and some other strange beastmen in cages. Bai Heng waved his hand and bought them all. It didn't cost much, only about 100 million. The collector led the beastmen in, then ordered 2 security guards to stand guard outside the door. We closed the door as planned, then I immediately counted the number of beastmen while Bai Heng used his charm to seduce the collector. Opening the door, Bai Heng affectionately led the collector out, and on the way, he blew kisses to the 2 security guards. The other 2 were also embarrassed, immediately blushing and lowering their heads. You 2 brothers have worked hard. This is a small reward for your hard work. I hope everyone doesn't mind. I gave each security guard 500 yuan as a tip from behind. The other 2 nodded in thanks and left. Unfortunately, as soon as we left the door and turned into the alley behind, we were discovered. Stop, those 2 women didn't pay. What? Bai Heng, you're really stingy, you have money but still won't pay. I shouted. Seeing that the group of people were about to catch up, Bai Heng and I decided to split into 2 groups. He would lead the injured villagers to the surface to find help first, while I and the strange beastmen we had saved by chance would distract the group and meet up on the surface later. Just as I was about to cross the small market in the underground city to meet up with Bai Heng on the surface, I suddenly discovered that every 10 meters of the wall there was a poster with a wanted notice for me. Curiosity arose. I ran over to take a look. Oh my god, this bounty was enough to pay off our debts from the auction house earlier, and also had more than enough for me to have a good time. A person who spent money like this, I could guess who it was with my toes. Luckily, I was smart enough to disguise myself before leaving. Otherwise, how could a mobile treasury like me go save people? I might have been dragged to the presidential palace by passers-by to claim the reward. This place shouldn't be stayed for long. Unfortunately, while running away, a female hamster beastman accidentally fell into the water. Help, does anyone know how to swim? We can't swim. Miss Nian Nian, please save her. After transforming into a snake's tail and jumping into the water to rescue the female hamster, I suddenly remembered how they suddenly called out to me just now. I hadn't even told those strange beastmen my name. How did they know my name was Nian Nian? Did they find out that I was a wanted beastman so quickly? Thinking of this, I couldn't help but ask, how did you know my name is? Before I could finish my sentence, I felt a sharp pain in my neck, followed by the feeling of a cold liquid being injected straight into my body. By the time I managed to wave my hand to react to the person behind me, the syringe had only a few drops of unknown liquid left. The people around me didn't care at all when they saw me being attacked. You. How could you? The energy in my body was quickly drained away, replaced by strange waves of heat. I glared fiercely at the beast man in front of me, trying to stabilize my mind to resist the effects of the drug. In the next life, I will never be a holy mother again. Whoever wants to do it, go ahead and do it. I cursed in my heart, and in the end, unable to resist the effects of the drug, I gradually fell into a coma. In the midst of my delirium, I felt like I had just been brought to a familiar place, and heard that familiar voice. I'm sorry, Mr. President, I accidentally injected aphrodisiac into Miss Neem Neem's body to induce anesthesia. It's okay, just bring her back. Yan Mo? I was being taken back to the presidential palace? In the midst of the tidal heat sweeping through my body, I suddenly felt a cold object pressed against my face. Neem Neem? Ice cream can talk? I really wanted to take a bite. In my delirium, I opened my mouth and took a bite of the ice cream in front of me, but unexpectedly tasted something soft like jelly. Wait, Neem Neem. If you keep going like this, I won't be able to hold back. I felt like I had just had a very long dream. I dreamed that I was like a small boat tossing in the middle of a big storm. But the surrounding waves were unusually warm, and after they calmed down, they made people feel extremely secure. I also dreamed about Gon Mak. In the dream, he was very gentle to me, his eyes were filled with love and affection, to the point that it seemed to contain the entire sea of stars. Gon Mak even whispered, "I love you," which made me so excited that I almost promised to be with him for life. It would be great if he didn't have a crush on Kyo Van Y anymore. In that dream Gon Mak liked me as much as I liked him. Even though I only wanted his face and body. In my daze, I felt like my body was tied up by something. My chest, waist, and legs were all caught in something. I felt uncomfortable and wanted to turn around, but my body felt like it had just been run over by a steamroller. My whole body ached, especially down there. Turning over, opening my eyes slightly, the first thing that caught my eyes was a white chest. Afraid that I was still dreaming, I continued to stare straight ahead, intending to reach out and touch to see if it was real. But before I could move, a hoarse and lazy voice rang out above my head. Is Neem Neem still satisfied with me? I didn't have time to react, and only after a while did I raise my head. Before my eyes was Yan Mo's handsome face, smiling slightly. So beautiful. Yan Mo laughed and gently kissed me on the lips. Although he was talking nonsense, Yan Mo seemed extremely pleased to see my dazed expression before I woke up. It seems that Neem Neem is very pleased. Wait. Why is Yan Mo on my bed? Only then did I react, intending to roll straight out of bed to examine the current situation. Unexpectedly, before I could even stand up, I was pulled back to bed by the painful waist. You. I. Before I could even figure it out, I found myself in a strange room with two exquisite iron chains tied around my long, white ankles. Here, how can I? I was so scared that my brain short-circuited. This is my room, Neem Neem. Let's stay here. I will take responsibility for you. No, you should explain why I'm here. What happened last night? Moreover, I pointed at the chain under my feet. What is this? Yan Mo became upset in an instant, the corners of his eyes turned red, tears gradually gathered, he stammered, I'm sorry Nyan, those beast men were arranged by me. I just miss you so much. I want Nyan to stay by my side for the rest of my life, never to leave me again. Last night you were drugged, we did husband and wife things. Immediately after that, he immediately trembled and hugged me, his strong arms exerting a little force, his face buried deep in my neck, breathing softly, repeating in my ear, Neem Neem, I love you so much, please stay with me. My mind went blank, suddenly remembering last night's dream. It turned out to be true. Gon Mak also liked me, and even humbly begged me like this because of love. I gently hugged him, reaching out to pat his trembling back over and over again. Yan Mo, we cannot imprison or force others because of love. Love must be when both sides are equal and respect each other. I am a beast, of course I will fear this world that is inherently unfair to beasts. We fear those of the upper class, fear authority. Even if we become the treasure in your heart, we still have to worry, will one day be hated by the owner, will we be abandoned or lose our lives? As your pet, I dare not bet that you will love me forever. I am also worried that after there is a new female owner, you will abandon me or take my life, so I can only run away. No. Neem is the person I have always missed. How can I bear to kill you? In this life, I only have you as the president's wife. The presidential palace also only has one female owner, you. Yan Mo interrupted me agitatedly, turning his sincere eyes filled with tears towards me. The beast men who brought you back were the ones I sent down to find evidence of a crime in order to seal the underground city. 3 years ago when Nyen left, I had already issued a ban on the trade of beast men. I didn't expect them to find you there. In order to marry Nyen, I tried to regain equality for beast men. I was just a little bit more. I just needed to establish diplomatic relations with the beast men leader, Nyen. I will always treat you well and cherish you. Please don't leave me. I was extremely surprised. Yan Mo actually took the credit for the male lead, and directly pushed forward the originally difficult issue of equality for beast men. But before I could even be moved, I was already whined by him until my head was numb. This guy can really cry and act spoiled at the same time. Isn't this a decisive and ruthless villain? Indeed, being in love can completely change people. Okay, I won't go anywhere. Who told you to like me too? Yan Mo's entanglement made me dazed, and I blurted out. Really? Yan Mo suddenly held back his tears and looked at me in surprise, happy like a 200-pound child. Really, I love you. Moreover, my name isn't Nyen, it's Guifen. But I'm willing to be the only Nyen in your heart. After saying that, I grabbed Yan Mo by the collar, hugged his head and gave him a French kiss in the standard domineering CEO style. After kissing and coaxing each other, just when we were both in a state of passionate love, Yan Mo was about to reveal his animalistic nature. I pushed him away and pointed at the chain at my feet. I won't run away anymore. You said you would respect me. Shouldn't we untie you now? Nyen lied to me. As a result, Yan Mo immediately returned to her little bride appearance from earlier. Nyen still hasn't explained why I can talk. Even though I knew he was trying to change the subject, I was still stunned by his previous question. Damn it, he forgot to deal with this matter. He acted too freely, now he has to pay the price. After entangling with each other for a while, I finally succeeded in convincing Yan Mo to untie me. A few days later, Yan Mo kept his promise to let me be the mistress of the presidential palace, and at the same time, he was free to come and go in and out of the palace. Actually, it's not much different from before, just a little more freedom. It was a surprise to be rewarded after 3 years away from home. The comfortable days passed by, making me forget an important issue, until the presidential palace recruited a new group of maids. That day, I was eating watermelon and sunbathing on the rooftop when I turned around and was scared to death by the sight of Bok Heng wearing a maid outfit. You, what are you doing? Are you crazy? I quickly lowered my voice and pulled Bok Heng closer, conveniently pressing his head down, afraid that someone would see. Hey, little geezy, it seems like you're living a good life. Village Chief Bai Heng tapped me with his claws and then put his hands on his hips to lecture me. The day you were captured, I and Old Yang were so worried that we couldn't eat or sleep well. We had a hard time asking about your whereabouts from the other beast men. You're not bad, you've been having so much fun here that you've forgotten everything, right? Don't tell me you've been so charmed by that white-faced president that you've forgotten your way home? Haven't you thought about our family at all these days? Bai Heng scolded like a machine gun, leaving me no chance to explain. I came here to take your little girl home, yet you didn't even greet me. Are you afraid that I'll come and disturb your life? Before Bai Heng could scold enough, an unfamiliar voice rang out behind us. Excuse me, but where is the reception room in the presidential palace? The two of us turned our heads at the same time. Bai Heng and the other man immediately exclaimed as soon as they saw each other, "Why are you here?" The person who just arrived was the male lead, Lu Xinyuan. Yan Emo had called him over to discuss a few times before, so I had met him before. But why did the two of them know each other? Looking at the two men in front of me, one with affectionate eyes, the other avoiding me and sweating profusely, I bet the situation between these two people wasn't simple. Do you two know each other? To break this awkward atmosphere, I had to ask the question that had been burning my gossiping heart. Yes, Madam President, little Bai Heng. Mr. Bai Heng and we don't know each other. You little snake, quickly follow me home and stop gossiping about adults. Bai Heng suddenly jumped up and interrupted Luke Thin Veen, intending to pull me away. Where are you taking my wife? Before we could take a few steps, Yan Emo appeared and blocked our way. He stared at Bai Heng's hand that was holding mine and then rushed over to snatch me away. To ensure Bai Heng's safety, I tried my best. Wait, Yan Emo, listen to my explanation, it's all a misunderstanding. This is my maternal family, he came to see if I'm okay. Moreover, General Lu also knows him, right, General Lu? I silently prayed that Lu Xinyuan would help me hide it, but unexpectedly he opened his mouth and said, "That's right, sir, this is exactly the person I'm looking for." Male lead? With Bai Heng? When did the two of them get entangled? I was now like a bird swooping down to the melon field to gossip. Bai Heng's face gradually turned red, his fox ears involuntarily exposed, and a suspicious pink color appeared on the tips of his ears. You little snake, stop imagining things. After so many days, you still haven't received a letter of safety. Wait until I deal with General Lu and then come settle the score with you. Bai Heng was so angry that he gritted his teeth and threatened. Then he immediately strode towards the rooftop, raised his head and glared at Lu Xinyuan, still not chasing after that Lu? Yes, yes. Lu Xinyuan was stunned for a few seconds and then hurriedly ran over. I eagerly begged Yan Emo to tell me everything so I could gossip with him. It turned out that 3 years ago, when there was a problem at the border, Lu Xinyuan was on the front line and was plotted against by an insider, and almost became the enemy country's male favorite. Coincidentally, he met Bai Heng, who was disguised as a woman there to rescue a female beastman who had been tricked and sold, and was eventually saved by him. Only when he was rescued back to the Empire did Lu Xinyuan discover that his benefactor was a male beastman. The next day when he woke up, the other party had disappeared without a trace. After that, Lu Xinyuan sketched a portrait of Bai Heng based on his memory, painfully searching for him for 3 years, and only today when he entered the mansion did he finally meet him. What about Qiao Wanyi? Aren't Lu Xinyuan and Qiao Wanyi childhood sweethearts? Their families only have a business relationship, so they've known each other since they were young. The truth is, it's not like what you think. Moreover, both families have cut off contact with each other since I ordered the Qiao family to be sealed 3 years ago. Well done, Comrade Qiao Wanyi, who told you not to follow the male lead to battle. Now even your husband has run off with someone else. I told Yan Emo about my 3 years living in the Beastman village. I told him that the people in the Beastman village were my saviors. I also told him that Bai Heng was the chief of the Beastman village that he was looking for. Yan Emo listened quietly, admitted that Bai Heng was his nominal brother-in-law, and said that next time, in addition to discussing the issue of establishing diplomatic relations, the two sides would take the opportunity to think of a way to please this brother-in-law. There was no need to be so serious, right? But Nian, that year why did you risk your life to escape here? What did Xiao Wani say to you that day? This moment had finally come. I couldn't say that I had transmigrated here and knew in advance that he would skin me and cook me into a snake feast to enjoy with Xiao Wani, right? Well, Xiao Wani said that the two of you were getting engaged. I couldn't stay here anymore. I was afraid that you would punish me when I fell out of favor, so I ran away. Do you believe me if I say that? I was afraid that the reason I made up was too fake, so I could only make up a story and quote Xiao Wani. Of course I do. As long as it's Nian, I will believe her. As long as you're willing to stay by my side, whether it's true or not, I will always believe her. Yan Emo held my hand and swore, then lowered his head to kiss my hand. God, this love brain is truly beyond help. But he's really good. After that, Bai Heng and Yan Emo also officially met and discussed, smoothly establishing diplomatic relations between the two sides. But compared to diplomatic relations, it seemed that the marriage between me and Yan Emo was more difficult. Mr. President, although our Xiao Guizi has not been in the village for long, she is still an extremely rare blue-tailed snake beast, with such a noble bloodline. No, this is not the main point. The main point is that Xiao Guizi is an important member of the family. You took her away without our elders' consent, and you didn't even give her a title. Is this reasonable? Bai Heng threatened people fiercely at the negotiating table, his mouth smiling but his fox eyes still shining as if he was about to launch a strike. It's because I didn't consider it carefully. I was in such a hurry that I didn't have time to ask permission from Nian's maternal family. It's all my fault. But I truly love Nian, brother-in-law. When we establish diplomatic relations, I will go to Nian's mother's house to ask for permission, and at the same time, I will announce our marriage throughout the empire. I will definitely give Nian a grand wedding. Do you think that calling me brother-in-law will make me marry Xiao Gizi to you? I am willing to allow the imperial general to marry into the Bai family to show my sincerity. Lu Xinyuan sat beside him? He looked confused, then the back of his neck turned red. Hearing this, Bai Heng hurriedly opened the velvet fan in his hand and fanned himself, trying to hide the embarrassment on his face. Cough, okay, why don't you call me brother-in-law a few more times? After establishing diplomatic relations, the beast men gradually became more active in human society. They no longer had to be slaves or servants, they no longer needed to find ways to escape to survive, nor did they need to become pets or serve anyone. Beast men were treated equally in society, and had the right to settle down like normal people. Later, Yanimo also came to the Beast Man village as promised, and even came to meet my savior, Old Yang, and the others. In the end, Old Yang agreed and gave his blessing. That day, all the beast men in the village were invited to attend the wedding, and everyone was clamoring to wish us happiness. Old Yang took my hand and walked towards Yanimo, placing my hand in his palm with tears in his eyes. Mr. Yang, don't worry, Nian is my treasure, I will always treat her well. Nim Gon Mak looked at me, at this moment and his eyes filled with stars, only the image of the girl in front of him was reflected. I have never felt the love of my parents, nor have I ever had a normal family like everyone else. I know I lack love, but you taught me how to love and be loved. Meeting you made me feel like I had everything I wanted. You are the most important member of my family. I love you, will you marry me? I said yes, without hesitation. After all, she was eager to enjoy her journey with him forever. The end.